I didn't really think of myself as anything but an actor. I also knew that I could give some honor to the profession of acting.
I heard these stories that you used to set your alarm to wake up in the middle of the night to watch movies so you could study, and that you also would monitor your own emotions.
If you're good, you have an insight into people's behavior that is slightly more than the issue of can you see the motivation? Can you see the reason why you might know more? And I did.
Is this your life's work? Is this the most important thing you think you will do in your life, this work on civics?
Yes, what I'm doing in terms of civics is the most important thing that I am spending my life on. I'm doing something to save my country. We're an amazing accident of history. If you can say that you have America in your blood, you are accepting a compliment that it was a massive compliment, a massive miracle of forward thinking.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Richard Dreyfuss, the Hollywood actor who starred in some of the most successful movies of all time. Your career has spanned an incredible 50 years and includes standout performances in films like American Graffiti, Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and The Goodbye Girl, for which you won the Oscar for Best Actor, becoming the youngest ever to win at age 30. During a 5-year period in the 1970s, your movies grossed $1 billion at the box office, making you one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. Your nonprofit organization, the Dreyfuss Civics Initiative, endorses the need for civics education in schools to ensure that future generations appreciate the power of their citizenship and the principles that hold America together. Your new book, One Thought Scares Me, explores the failing democratic republic in the United States and outlines a clear path to reclaiming American ideals. Richard, welcome to London Real.
Hiya. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. I got to ask, how is my hometown of San Diego? I notice you're there and not in LA. Obviously, I'm in London. Feels like maybe we should be roles reversed, but how is San Diego treating you?
San Diego is becoming more and more civilized every day. And you get to meet the strangest and most wonderful people. I spent the first 6 months having an ongoing debate between myself and Japanese scholars who wanted to know why I took so long to study the way they study. And I said, well, I thought you were already doing it right. And they said, no one's doing it right. And that kind of put a shiver down the back of my neck. And I realized that, yes, no one was doing this correctly. And so I was at St. Anthony's, which is the school at Oxford that receives foreign students. And I found out, not quite a student and not quite a faculty, but I could dip into both. And I learned a lot. I had been a Cambridge lecturer for many years as I came in and out of town. But the day that for instance, the day that I told the cab driver that I was here to see the Queen's reaction to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I had never seen horizontal tears until that minute. And he cried with such passion that they went bing, and they went right to the front window, and he was speechless.
And this is what you said when you got to Oxford to spend your 4 years over here.
Yeah. Yeah. They asked me, do you have a project that we could approve or disapprove of? And I said, yes. And it was in and around the subject of civics. And I had discovered that, unbeknownst to me, civics was not being taught at all. And so how they expected to create a civil society, that was something I was really looking forward to understanding. And I found it, and I found it all over the place. So it was something very cherishable. And I got more out of that first year. So.
And I really want to jump into, the meat of the book and a lot of the thoughts that you have in there. But I think a lot of it seems to be framed with your family history. And I'm wondering if we can maybe touch on that, because, your family emigrated from various parts of Europe. And I know they were all of the American left. And then they had this kind of fascinating journey of like gangs of New York, and they went to the war. And I feel like somehow that DNA is somehow in the book and your thoughts on this. I was wondering if you could speak on kind of the Dreyfuss clan and where they came from, what their values are, and how that shapes your perspective of why we need civics today.
Well, actually, I said to my father when I was in my 20s that sooner or later I knew that I was going to be asked to write an autobiography. And I said, that autobiography will say that I was born in 1881, because that's the year that all of the stories began that really shaped my moral character. And I knew who and why and when. And so it was a group effort, and well worth it. Well worth it.
And is it true that your great-great-grandmother was kind of involved in an assassination in Russia, and she kind of had to flee, and a lot of excitement and drama in your family? I guess I shouldn't be surprised knowing you.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, there was, I have the rare privilege of being able to say, my great aunt, Helsia Helfman, a member of the Narodnaya Volnya, the will of the people, along with Alexander Lenin, Nikolai's older brother, they assassinated Tsar Alexander in 1881. I'd like to say that again. My great aunt, Helsia, she was an activist, oh boy. And so she came out of the shtetl and popped Alexander. And because of the privileges that came along with his caste and class, he very easily would have been able to get away without selling the prison time or the execution, but he didn't want to. And so he willingly was hung, and Helsia was not, because even the Okrana, the secret police, even the Okrana did not kill pregnant women. And so she was exiled to New York. And she went into Ellis Island being Helsia Helfman, and she came out a few minutes later known as Elsie Hoffman, which was the exact name of my grandmother. And my grandmother was Helsia's niece. And if the Irish clerk on Ellis Island had any trouble at all in pronouncing her name, they changed it, and that's what they did. So her Helsia became Elsie, and her helpman became Hoffman. And so she came in one way and went out the other. And I wish I had known her personally, but I didn't.
And then your father went to the war, but before that, there was kind of a little bit of a gangs in New York scenario kind of happening in Brooklyn. And just, you said that they were kind of all of the left. And I'm just wondering how some of those pieces kind of shaped who you became. You were born in 1947, I think. How did that all change you?
Well, it was an enormous impact on my life. And I can say that if that had not been the case, I would not be here, and I would not have received the melodrama of her life as a part of mine. And she was a tough little bird, apparently, and she had every right and reason to circle this central drama. She was my own Thoreau, because there's this famous story about Thoreau refusing to pay the taxes for the Mexican War, and Ralph Waldo Emerson visits him in the jail, and he says, "Henry, what are you doing in there?" And Thoreau looked at him and said, "Ralph, what are you doing out there?" So
it's yeah, very fitting on times like they are today as well, right? That story.
Yes. And then my mother, my grandmother, was a upfront witness to the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, which was one of those catastrophes that kept plaguing the newly arrived immigrants. And
to continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.